Good morning, Rechavia Nachlaot in Yerushalayim. Thank you so much for joining us. And Bezrat HaShem, now we're going to start Perek Bet, chapter 2, in Sha'ar, ha-Yichud ve'emunah. We've just finished the first chapter, and now we are continuing to Perek Bet. So in your own Tanya, in your Tanya Text, it's page Ayin Zayin, which corresponds over here in the original Tanya to page 152. And welcome back, everyone. In Perek Aleph, in chapter 1, the Alter Rebbe explained that it's the godly spark within every creation that needs to be inside, keeping it alive, keeping it created and in existence. Because if for a moment the godly spark will go back to its source, then the physical object will cease to exist. Now, Perek Bet, the Alter Rebbe discusses an interesting subject. He says, from here we see an answer to those heretics that deny that Hashem runs the world. Let's see inside the text. V'hinei mikan, from here, from that which we explained up until now, is a tshuvat haminim, is an answer to the minim, those that deny in Hashem's existence or in Hashem's oneness. V'gilui shoresh ta'utam, and the revelation of the source of their mistakes, of their mistake. When we say that over here minim, we're not talking about those that deny that the world was created through Hashem. These people that we're referring to agree that Hashem created the world. But what do they deny? Ela kofrim b'ashgacha pratit u'ba'otot u'moftei haTorah. They deny in divine providence for every single being, for every single object, and in the signs and the miracles of the Torah. Hem kofrim bekach she'akadosh baruch hu mashgiach b'ashgacha pratit al kol nivra v'yitzur. They deny in the fact that Hashem is personally involved and monitors, governs in an individual way for every single creation of Hashem. The kofrim, and they also deny in the miracles of the Torah, in the signs and wonders which are written in the Torah. Why do they deny in Hashem's in the miracles of the Torah, even though they agree that Hashem created the world? That's because shetoim b'dimyonam hakozev, they have a mistake with comparing the false comparison, and they're making a mistake. What's their comparison? So let's see further on in the text. Shemedamin, they compare Maasei Hashem, the deeds of Hashem, Osei Shamayim v'aretz, he who makes heaven and earth, L'maasei Enosh v'tachbulotav, to the acts of man and the person's doings, but doings like a human being does, not regular things, but all kinds of under-the-table plans. Ki, for, kasher yetzeh latzorech kli, when a blacksmith wants to make a vessel, kshekli yotzeh mitachat yidei ha'oman, when the professional, when the blacksmith, when he finishes making this vessel, this pot, for example, or a plate, shuv ein hakli tzarich l'dei hatzoref, the vessel does not need to have the blacksmith anymore. Ki, for, af sheyadav shel ha'uman, even though the hands of the blacksmith mesulakot menu are taken away from the vessel, v'holech lo bashuk, and he goes away to the marketplace. In other words, he goes doing his own stuff. Hakli kayam, the vessel is sustained, b'tavnito v'tzalmo mamash, in its in its form, the way the blacksmith made it. Kasher yatsa mitzorav kli, as it went out, kasher yatsa, from midei hatzoref, from the hands of the blacksmith. So that's by the blacksmith. Kach medamin haschalim ailu. So too these sachal is a stupid person. So too these individuals compare ma'aseh shamayim va'aretz, the creating of the heavens and the earth. That after HaShem created the heavens and the earth, they don't need to have HaShem anymore. So God forbid, they don't need to have their creator. Therefore, they deny in Hashgacha Pratit that HaShem till now is personally involved with every detail of the stories of the Torah, of what happens in the world, and also stories of the miracles of the Torah that show that HaShem personally is involved and governs over every creation, and sometimes He changes through His miracles the nature of the creations. However, tach mera'ot eineihem, their eyes are covered over, and they fail to understand the major difference between HaShem creating the world and the way a regular blacksmith creates his vessels. Ha'hevdel gadol shebein ma'aseh enosh v'tachbulos, of the major difference between the deeds of man and his doings. Shu yesh miyesh, which is a human being. You take a piece of metal and you reform it into a pot or any kind of vessel. So because it's already there, you're just changing it. So therefore, the blacksmith can walk away afterwards without being personally involved the entire time and holding on and creating and bringing life to the pot or to the object which he reformed. He didn't create; he just reformed it. Instead of being a flat piece of metal, he, let's say, made walls to it or something like that, or made a special shape. That's all by the blacksmith. It's yesh miyesh, something from something else, but not creating from scratch. Rak, only shemeshaneh ha'oman et hatzura v'hatmuna shel hachomer, that he changes the picture and the form of the object. Mitmunat chatichat kesef l'tmunat kli. He changes from a piece of metal to a different form of a vessel, a specific vessel. So he did not create a new entity, because the substance of the vessel was there beforehand, even before he reformed it. So therefore, he doesn't need, the vessel doesn't need to have the blacksmith there the entire time. So you cannot compare it. Let's go on in the text. L'maseh shamayim va'aretz, to creating heavens and earth. Shehu yesh me'ayin, which is something from nothing, ex nihilo. Before the heavens and earth were created, they were nothing. And when Hashem said Yehi Rakia, for example, there should be a heaven, then they became yesh, they became an entity, something that you can touch, something that you can relate to. So that's a true chidush, that's a true novelty. And because there is a whole new entity, therefore you need to have, when you create something new, you need to have that the creator should constantly continue to create it, because the moment that it goes away, this chidush, this novelty goes away too. V'hu, and the creation of the world, which is yesh me'ayin, let's continue in the text, is Pele Gadol, is a yoter, is a greater wonder. Mikriyat Yamsuf al derech mashal, for example, the splitting of the sea. Shaital yidei sholich Hashem et hayam, b'ruach kadim azak kol layla. That Hashem, in order for the sea to split, it was in the middle of the night. In order for it to stay split, Hashem had to push the wind against the water, as I'll explain in a second. Vayibaku hamayim, and then the water split. V'nitzvu kimo ned ukechoma, and they stood like a wall. not only they did not continue flowing, but they stood like a stiff wall. Ve'ilu hifsik Hashem et haruach kerega, if Hashem would take away the wind for a moment, hayu hamayim chozrim v'nigarim b'morad kedarkam v'tivam. The water would have just flown back to the way it's used to its nature. V'lo kamu kechoma b'li safek, and they would not have stood like a wall, without a doubt. In other words, there's no place to be concerned that the water would continue to stand like a wall after the wind would have gone away. But certainly it would have gone back and flow like always. Af sha'ateva hazeh b'mayim. Here's the punchline. Even though this nature is in the water, gamken also, gamken nivra mechudash yesh me'ayin, is also created and renewed something from nothing. So instead of the fact that beforehand it was ayin, it was nothingness, this nature has become a yesh. That in the teva, in the nature, this has become a yesh right now. Let's just finish off and then we'll go back to explain. Sha'ar for chomat avanim nitzevet me'atzma b'li ruach. If you have a wall of stone, so even without the wind, it doesn't move. Rak shateva hamayim ein okein. So if the nature of the water is not so, if the water has its nature not to stand, just to flow from above lower, or just to keep on going, so this nature is a creation, something from nothing, in the water itself. So let's go back to explain a little bit. For a moment, let's move away from the creation of heaven and earth, and let's move to the example of the Kriyat Yamsuf, of the splitting of the sea. By Kriyat Yamsuf, what happened exactly? In order for us to understand the comparison from Kriyat Yamsuf to the creation of the world, and then to show how the creation of the world is even a greater wonder than the splitting of the Yamsuf, we have to first understand a little bit more in depth what transpired by the Kriyat Yamsuf. You have water. Water flows, and water has its natures. It's wet. It's refreshing. It flows. Doesn't stay in one place. It keeps on going. It flows. Now, all of a sudden, what does Hashem want to do? Hashem wants to split the sea. So, in order to split the sea, something unbelievable has to happen. First of all, when the sea is split, so then you need to have two walls. So the wind blew against the side, that made it stand like a wall, almost as if pushing against it, otherwise it would just fall in and continue being like regular water. So the wind had to push in at the water, and it would stand still. Now what happens to the water itself? Did the water become ice, or did the water remain water? The answer is the water remained water. If it would have become ice, then Hashem just had to split it, make it ice, boom. There are two walls. Everybody can walk in between. But no, Hashem did not make it ice. Hashem kept it with the nature of the water. It was just, as the pasuk says, the wind was pushing against every second. So we could understand that because every moment this was a chidush, it was a novelty of water standing, not ice, water standing. So if for one moment Hashem took away His wind, ruach, yam, chazak ma'od, a strong, I think it's an eastern wind or a western yama, It depends which direction you were talking about, but this strong wind, nitzav kechoma, it was as if it was a wall, but it was not a wall. It remained with its regular nature of water. And therefore, we needed to have this miracle every single moment. Now, the punchline over here is that instead of it being ayin, it became a yesh. The Rebbe explains that this nature of water, which it's always moving and it doesn't stand, that's also yesh me'ayin. Every moment, HaShem has to create it from scratch. Not just the water itself, but also the nature of the water to be able to flow and not to stand like a wall. So in other words, this strong wind that had to push the water back as if it was a wall, it's not as if it was creating it from new, yesh me'ayin. It was just changing one yesh, because HaShem had already created it, to another yesh to stand like a wall. Nevertheless, it's a major chidush, it's a major novelty, that the water, which has its nature right now at this moment to flow, it's standing like a wall. So we have to. So this everybody could understand that you need to have at every single moment the Creator to bring this chidush and keep it up, because if not, the water will the first yesh, the nature of the water itself and the water and the nature to start flowing, it's just going to go back to the way it was before. So what do we see over here? That even when we have a chidush, a novelty of yesh miyesh, of something from nothing, you need to have the mechadesh, the individual, the creator, who is doing a new effort every single moment, can't stop. Because if he stops, it's just going to go back to the original yesh. So what do we have over here? We see that the godly force of the wind did not have to create yesh me'ayin, something from nothing, a new thing that was not there before. Just simply to change one situation to another situation, from the nature of usually that it would flow, to the nature of standing tough, standing strong like a wall. How much more so when it comes to creating heavens and earth, Maaseh Shamayim v'aretz, which that everybody understands that it's yesh me'ayin, ex nihilo, something from nothing. How much more so this is a tremendous chidush, a huge novelty, which it's impossible to fathom how that's done. And so for sure we need to have HaShem, hashgacha pratit, at every single moment, divine providence, of every single detail, every minute creation is personally managed by HaShem, and that HaShem creates it every single moment. That's something which is unbelievable, and this is clearly where the deniers of hashgacha pratit, of divine providence, where they're making a big mistake. Everybody understands that you cannot compare the creation of Hashem's creation of the world, to a blacksmith reforming a sheet of metal into a pot, for example, or any other thing which is made, a shoe, a table, whatever it is. Everyone understands that it's making something from nothing. So for sure, by Hashem, there's no question that by Hashem, this is on a much, much greater level. It's a true chidush. It's a true novelty, and it is a great vision. It's a very clear sight for us to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really is an essential part of every single being. And if Hashem takes away His Devar Hashem, the word of Hashem, either the spark of godliness, or you want to say the wind, for example, by Kriyat Yamsuf, or anything else, that's just an example. But if Hashem takes away His life force, the spiritual life force from any object, and it goes back to its source, then this object ceases to exist. This is, you have a lot of food for thought. Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow we're going to continue this beautiful concept. I'm going to wish you a great day now. All the best. Thank you so much for joining us in Yerushalayim, wherever you are in the world. And Bezrat Hashem, we look forward to seeing everybody tonight, 7:30, for our continuing our course in Seriously Happy and in Tanya chapter Chavav. So please spread the word and all the best. It's going to be also on Zoom, the same Zoom of last week, and I hope to send out the information of Zoom very soon. Be well.